From Oxnard, California, we wrap up another day of training camp 2022 presented by American Airlines, and this is Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford. Alongside Rob Phillips and Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Rob, it was a physical day to say the least. Safe to say there was a little bit of fight in this team today. What did you see out on the practice field?
Nice pun, Kyle. Nice. Yeah, that we saw
bit.
not actual fights, just some chippiness that you kind of expect at this point in training camp. I always say when the players see the first preseason game coming up, and especially with a joint practice coming up against the Denver Broncos, they're ready to see somebody else. They're tired of hitting each other. A couple little skirmishes between the offensive and defensive lines, and I think that usually comes with some of the work they got today. They got some red zone work, they got some goal line work on both sides, and that brings out some of the physicality between the two lines.
Well, today was the last day of the install phase for the Cowboys. How will the offense rise in this moment?
That's a great question, Britt, because usually the defense starts ahead of the offense a little bit, especially that little ramp-up period without pads. I think that's harder for the offense. The last couple days, I think you've really seen the passing game start to click with Dak Prescott, with CeeDee Lamb on Monday. On Tuesday, it was Noah Brown making plays, Simi Fehoko in his second season coming up making plays. So I think that's a good foundation for them going forward. But hey, the real test comes up against a new team. Denver, see what the work is like this week, and then the preseason game as well.
And you talk about some of the finding a groove. We've been waiting for the kickers to find a groove, and at least over the last couple days, it looks like Lirim Hajrullahu has certainly found it. However, he's going to have to do it with new competition because Jonathan Garibay no longer a part of the Cowboys as the club released him on or prior to today's practice. But what did they do in terms of a move outside of that?
Well, they brought in some familiarity. You know, Brett Maher was the primary kicker here for 2 seasons, 2018 and 2019. Didn't finish the 2019 season, had some struggles late in the year there, but he talked about after practice how he's had some tough conversations with himself about becoming a more consistent kicker and did a nice job in New Orleans last year, making almost all of his field goals in 8 games for the Saints last year. So more competition for Lirim Hajrullahu. It's disappointing for Jonathan Garibay, who might have a nice future ahead of him. Just a tough start to training camp, and the Cowboys trying to find some consistency at this position.
Was this a move that you kind of anticipated happening? Was this something a little bit of the writing on the wall?
I think once camp started and Garibay had some struggles, I think they were probably going to make a move, try to find some competition. But I think it's disappointing. I think signing him out of Texas Tech, they felt like he could really potentially win this job, and now you're turning elsewhere, and we'll see what happens as really preseason starts. There's a lot of time here.
Rob, I hope you know this, but the stars are out behind you. I mean, Jamie Foxx is literally right there, and he's having conversations with the media while we're trying to film Inside Cowboys Training Camp. I think we'll let it slide.
Gotta love it.
Hey, there's Jamie right there. Hey, wow. You speak of the devil. There you go. But Jamie Foxx for Rob Phillips, thanks for joining us here in this segment. We'll wrap things up when we come back on the other side of the break. Let's take a look at some more Cowboys Training Camp and what's happening out here in Oxnard.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, now that the Fox entourage has subsided, we're back here with more Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford. Britt Johnson, Kyle Yeomans with you. And Britt, there's been a special connection between Zach Martin and Tyron Smith since both of those guys started playing together. Just it seems like it was yesterday, but it was almost a decade ago at this point. It's a special connection that is very seldomly replicated.
Absolutely, and just to see how these guys have kind of fed off of each other over the years, you know, from the right side to the left side, and let's take a look at what they had to say about each other.
Tyron Smith has been on the Cowboys longer than any other current roster member after getting drafted 9th overall in the 2011 NFL Draft. Just a few years later, in 2014, Zach Martin joined Smith when he was selected 16th overall by the Boys. Today, the bond is stronger than ever.
I was talking to my parents the other day. Tyron's the longest teammate I've ever had in my life, ever. So it's pretty cool. But he's just consistent, man. He's quiet, but he's the same guy every day. He comes out, he works, he takes pride in his craft, and if it doesn't look right, he spends extra time to make it right.
The two offensive linemen have a combined total of 15 Pro Bowls, and both were named to the 2010's All-Decade team. Although Tyron has suffered through nagging injuries during his career, he feels ready to go for the upcoming season.
I feel in good shape coming in this year, especially now I have to deal with any kind of injuries. And, I feel about 100% coming out here, make sure game ready shape. And it's frustrating always trying to deal with the injury, but you can't get too frustrated when you got to stay in it. And, depend on and also lean on your trainers to get you back on the field quick.
So there you hear from Zach Martin specifically, and he talks very highly of Tyron Smith and his athletic ability and really the growth that he's shown throughout his career. But really this offensive line needs both of those guys to step up. What's the most important thing on their end that would allow this offensive line to be successful?
I know we keep drumming this into your guys' head, but it's really staying healthy. As you mentioned yesterday, it is really hard for offensive line to stay healthy throughout a season. Just they're getting banged up every day. It's little injuries that nag, and it's hard for them to play a full season. Tyron Smith said, this offseason he did not have any issues. He didn't have any injuries, any surgeries this offseason, so he's really excited about what he can contribute this year, and hopefully he can stay healthy through the majority of the season in order to make this a successful offensive line again.
They've been two cornerstones for that offensive line for quite some time now, and you're starting to see some cornerstones start to arise on the defensive side of the football too. One of those has been Tyron Curse, and talk about health. He was out these last couple days of practice, but it allowed Marquis Bell to shine in his absence. When we come back, we hear from Bell and what he expects in his rookie season as an undrafted free agent on that Dan Quinn defense.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
A while. What do you want to show starting in Denver in the preseason?
That I'm willing to go down there and play any special team that you need me, play anywhere on the field that you want me to play. Just anywhere I can help, I'm willing to do it. I have no preferences about anything. So anywhere I could get on the field and help the team, I'm willing to do it.
Eager to go against their offense?
Definitely. Thud, putting the pads on is fun, but when live bullets start flying, ain't nothing like that.
That's the rookie Marquis Bell, brought to you by Sleep Number, speaking on some of the expectations around some versatility to his game as a rookie. Back alongside Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Wrapping up, it feels like we're coming to an end in Oxnard.
Everybody's packing up. They're getting out of here, and should we be leaving?
I don't know.
Got a little bit of time.
We've got like a minute and a half left, so then we will do the same thing. But on to Denver, the Cowboys working that direction. But let's talk about the safety position. How deep is that group this year? Because it seems like it's deeper than it has been in a long time.
Absolutely. And looking back to last year at the beginning of training camp, it was very rough for the Cowboys. And then they signed Malik Hooker, who joined the squad. And then Tyron Curse kind of took over. We didn't really know what we were getting in that guy, and he was a guy that ended up having 92 tackles this past season, the most on the team. And I think him along with Malik Hooker, and then you add Donovan Wilson, and then like we spoke about, Marquis Bell has just shined through. I know he is an undrafted guy, but I can almost put money on the fact that he might make this team. He's had a lot of reps with the first team, especially in Tyron Curse's absence. He's been not missing a step. He's been so good and so sound, and I am really excited to see what he can do this season. But yes, he's a guy that can be a safety kind of linebacker hybrid, same as Tyron Curse.
And this might be the toughest question I've asked you throughout all of training camp. We only got a little bit to answer. Which one's impressed you the most, the secondary or the defensive line so far?
I'm going to go with the secondary.
There you go. The secondary
I had
corner,
to go quick.
safety.
Yes,
You just had to rip it off like a Band-Aid.
I like a couple guys like Bland and Bell that are kind of just unexpected guys that they're taking over.
Yeah, you got a couple rookies to work with there, and they're excited about what they'll have on that unit heading into Denver. For Britt Johnson, I'm Kyle Yeomans. That does it for us. For more Inside Cowboys Training Camp driven by Ford.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.